feels almost patriotic, doesn't it? Feels almost like a national hymn or something. Hey music friends, this is Davi Vasc, I'm a music composer for games, and the Monster Hunter Rise PC version is coming out very soon, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to welcome the new PC players by listening to and talking about the themes for the Rampage, which is the new game mode from Monster Hunter Rise. There are 3 different themes for the Rampage, and we're gonna listen to all of them, so let's go. This is the Rampage. And if I remember correctly, yeah, this beginning is fairly slow because they're accommodating for the fact that during this time you're still prepping for the Rampage. See how they're adding new instruments little by little? The brass. It's so good. And the cool thing about this part here there's actually 2 things about this. The first one is that there's a subtle reference in this theme here. There's a little reference in this to the Narwa theme. So if you remember, the Narwa theme that they spread across the entire soundtrack is this. So there's a little bit of an overlap with the Rampage theme. Right? The Narwa theme, the Rampage theme. Right? And the other thing about this part is this. So these 2 notes that they keep repeating, this is very appropriate for this part here. These 2 notes is what we call a 5th interval, and it's a group of notes that I already talked about here in the channel in the Proof of a Hero video. This kind of note here sounds to me very much like old school horn music, and it became iconic in war for war horns to play these kind of notes. It's a group of notes that is very historically associated with war, with a call to battle because of the way the horn instruments were made back in the day. And they use these same notes in Proof of a Hero, of course, and in the little jingle that plays when you accept a quest in Monster Hunter. A little bit of a slower emotional part to give depth to the combat. And notice the back and forth between the instruments here. The higher instruments on the left speaker are doing the call to war thing that I talked about. And the lower instruments more on the right speaker are doing a quick sequence of chaotic notes. Notice the call to war on the left and the quick notes on the right. It's kind of a call and response thing that they're doing that's very appropriate to a battle, right? And the choirs now are in full force. And the cool thing about these choirs is that, and this is not even speculation on my part, this is actually what the developer said, is that these choirs here represent the people of Kamura village cheering the hunters on so that the hunters can defend the village. So you got a whole village of people clamoring and cheering you on as you fight these monsters. Next up in the Rampage medley is the counter signal theme. Oops, let's go. It's slowed down quite a bit. It's not as exciting as the first one. Big focus on the singing. And this is such a different feel from the first theme. The counter signal is when you're supposed to get your hands dirty, so to speak, and go down there and fight the monsters, right? So this is a bit of a more intimate fight. There's a bit more tension here. It's not like the previous part that it was just pure excitement and yeah, let's go fight. There's a little bit more melancholy here and tragedy as the hunters get together to fight the monsters face to face. And again, a big focus on the Japanese instruments, and the Japanese instruments have a folk element to them. Again, see the shakuhachi, the Japanese flute. And this folk element is very appropriate for this track because this is not a hunt, you know, this is a fight for the survival of the people of Kamura. And the folk instruments, the Japanese folk instruments, do a great job of representing the people, you know, the people that are fighting for survival here in this battle. This feels almost patriotic, doesn't it? Feels almost like a national hymn or something. There are some very triumphant and proud and almost nationalistic sounding chords in here. Check this out. The next theme is the Red Roaming Roar, which is the apex phase and the final phase of the Rampage. Let's go. Wow. You know what this sounds like? Sounds very much like the Devil Joe theme because of the chord that they're spamming here. And it's the kind of chord that I talked about in my Devil Joe video, which is a chord that they reserve for very dangerous monsters. They usually use it for Elder Dragons and for very dangerous monsters like Devil Joe, and in this case, the Apex monsters. Can you hear that? That's a very, very disturbing chord. It's a little bit faster. It's clearly much more dangerous, intense and chaotic than before, but they're sparkling in some moments of triumph and positiveness. Like here, for example. Tension, tension, negative, danger. And then there's this little moment of triumph here. This chord here, it's a happy chord. So this feels like the people of Kamura pushing back and defending against the invasion of rampaging monsters. A moment of quiet tension. And again, the Japanese instruments. Oh, beautiful. A little bit of that prideful, patriotic feel. It's building up to something. Nice. Can you hear the triumphant moments? This is so chaotic. And something I want to emphasize here is that Satoshi Hori, the composer for this piece, is absolutely a master of composing orchestral music. And orchestral music like this that is very chaotic and there's tons of polyphony and tons of instruments doing a bunch of separate things is one of the hardest types of music to compose. It's very difficult to make the music feel chaotic and busy and crowded like it feels here, but at the same time feel professional and cohesive and harmonious. And here's just a tiny example of how he's creating this chaos here. It's chaos in a sense that it sounds chaotic, but in reality there's a lot of intention and order to it. So listen to this part here. The upper parts of this, the quick notes that are doing, they are first doing a sad chord, a normal sad chord, and then they transition into a disturbing chord. And the bass part here, on the other hand, is playing an arpeggio of a very, very disturbing chord, the same Devil Joe and Elder Dragon chord that I talked about before. And arpeggio just means that you're playing a chord, but instead of playing all the notes at the same time like this, you play them one at a time like this. So what the bass is doing is this. Sounds very ominous and disturbing, right? If you play all the notes at the same time, it sounds like this. Very unpleasant. So while the frantic and quick high notes are over here on the sad chord, the big and scary bass is like creeping up on them. That's so cool, you know. It almost feels like the danger, you know, the big and heavy monster creeping up on the frantic and tiny hunters. Hey, I hope you guys enjoy playing Monster Hunter Rise on PC in a few days. Maybe actually by the time you're watching this you'll already be playing. But in any case, make sure to watch the other videos I have done on Monster Hunter Rise music. I'm gonna put a playlist here with all the videos I've done on the God Serpents of Monster Hunter Rise. That's Ibushi, Narwa and All Mother Narwa. They have fantastic themes. And over here I'm gonna put a playlist with all the videos I've done on music from Monster Hunter Rise. And remember, whenever you're ready to spread your wings and go on a music journey again, I'll see you there.